Okay, so there's been a bit of scheduling issues lately, and my big video is not ready yet. At all. So, in the meantime, let's think about something different, you know? What about, like, the stuff I used to do when I was little? You know, like the toys I would play with. I have a lot of things that I used to have, and still do have, actually. Maybe I could show those off to you, or, well, at least describe them. I feel like this is going to be an interesting topic because unlike some people who probably have already made this video, they're like twice my age right now. So the toys that I grew up with are probably not ones you're familiar with or have heard in people who've talked about their childhood toys. So to the younger audience that watches me, you'll probably be able to connect with this in some aspects. Either that or you'll think I'm a fucking weirdo. Anyways, let's look at some of my toys. The first one I want to mention is one with an interesting story to it. It is a Thomas basket that you can put stuff in. And I remember having this for a good few years, but at some point lost it and actually recently got it back through a thrift store. The main question is, how did I lose it in the first place? I don't remember. I remember I had it and then all of a sudden it was just gone. That's it. I don't know. What I do remember though is that it was not in the best condition, but I loved using it just for random purposes. Like sometimes I would try to figure out how many trains I could fit into it. The answer's not many. And I remember putting this through hell and back with drawing all over it with marker. I don't have any pictures of it, but I do have a good memory of that happening. But yeah, after a few years, I kind of just lost it and didn't know where it went. It was probably sold or something, but who knows. Now, let's travel forward to like a few months ago where my parents went to a thrift store just for fun and saw this Thomas basket just sitting there. They recognized it because I used to own it and they showed it to me and I was like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll buy that. And so I bought it with my own money and now I just have it again. I think there are a few other examples of stuff I used to have, then lost, then got it back through paying myself. But this is the only one I'm gonna bring up because I don't know, I feel like that would just be repeating myself. Now, while that's a pretty cool Thomas item, you have not seen anything with how much Thomas stuff I've had. Oh, you have not. But you're gonna have to wait for that, because the next item I want to talk about is a Mario Kart related item. As you can tell, it's pretty dusty, but I remember using this quite frequently when I was a kid. If I'm correct, I believe it was battery operated and you basically just use them to just drive around with the remote controller, that of which I don't have anymore. If I remember correctly, I believe the controller had two sticks, one of them to move Mario forward and backwards, and the other to tilt the wheels. But other than that, that's pretty much it when it comes to this toy. I just remember using it frequently, so I want to bring it up. And because I actually have a much better alternative on me, that being Mario Kart Live, which I've used way less. But yeah, this was a cool item to have and use when I could. Can't anymore though, so oh well. I think even if I still had the controller, this probably wouldn't work. There's too much dust built in it. Okay, now I think I want to talk about some more like risky territory, you know? Some bootleg stuff. And right here I have a 8-bit gaming console just full of bootleg games. Now I'm not gonna go into like a 2014 rant talking about how, oh, this looks so bad, look at all the bootleg games, funny, so retro. But what I will talk about is the context of how I got this and what's on this thing in general. I believe it was Christmas of 2018 where I got this from my nan, along with, ironically, a bunch of more bootleg stuff that wasn't video game related, don't worry. And when I got this, I actually played it quite a bit. It wasn't like something where I just had it and didn't use it ever. I used it quite frequently when I was a kid. I'd bring it to car trips, I'd play it just whenever I felt like it. I played it when the power was out. That was a convenient use. But yeah, looking back at it now, it's kind of just like a silly little joke to have, but it's funny. One cool thing though is the fact that if you turn it on and set the power switch to the very right, the buttons glow, which I guess that works for playing in the night. Okay, dude. And yeah, I feel like the games in there are generally just your typical bootleg stuff that you would expect from any console that has like a billion games. Now you might be thinking to yourself, yeah, that's pretty funny having a bootleg game console, that's funny. However, I got another one. This gift was kind of just like a joke I got last year just because. And my dad knew that it was funny and ridiculous, so he kind of advertised it as like an amazing, cool thing that I would use all the time. I've not used this at all. But yeah, from what I can tell, it's pretty much the same thing, just with more games. Okay, we just need to get it out of the way because I mentioned it in the beginning, and I think it's fair that you just see it at this point. I have too much. My room is completely filled with Thomas-related stuff. It's definitely my most prized collection out of anything I have. Like, if I were to take everything I had Thomas-related and put it on my floor, we'd probably need like 2 layers or something. From the amount of toys that I have of Thomas stuff, it is way too much. You could open up an entire store of just Thomas-related stuff. That's just totally Thomas Town. God damn it. Some of it comes from when I was really young, like 3 to 4. A good chunk of it comes from when I was starting to get a bit older, and most of it comes from through like the past 3 years when I've just decided to buy a bunch of stuff with my own money. But yeah, now that I mention it, I guess I should mention like some of my specific favorites that I've collected over the years. Here is a Trackmaster 2010 Edward, which I got back in 2021, and I remember I always wanted to get this one, specifically because of how it was designed and such, because I love the visual look of this Edward, and also, I feel like Edward is just like a rare character to get, so at the time, I did not have that many Edwards. And I still don't. Yeah, I always wanted to get this one, but I remember that I made the excuse that when I had finished the grade I was in during school, then that would give me the excuse to get this Edward. And it worked. Now, when it comes to the smaller side, that's what I've been recently collecting. And there's a good reason for that. The take-along and take-and-play stuff, as of now, is pretty cheap. A lot of the stuff you can get is like $5 or less. Maybe stretching to like $10. But generally, you can get a very good deal on the take-along and take-and-play stuff. Which is why, over the past like 3 years, my collection of those have gone from really small to pretty decently sized. Some of my favorites that I've collected so far, I'd say would be the Bumblebee James, Diesel 199, Lady, Murdoch. All of those items are very cool to have in such a small little form. Although, I think that's where I'm going to end it off there. I've been rambling for a good few minutes, and I think what I've talked about is enough to satisfy a late video. I'm sorry for that again. But don't worry, we're gonna get it planned, we're gonna get it set up, we're gonna get it all ready, and I promise you, it's gonna be a good experience. So, until then, I'll see you then, I guess. Just wait for that to happen.